Hello, fellow truth seekers. This is Barbara G. Excuse me. I'm trying to keep it a little low. It's still early in the morning. It's only 5:30. A cup of tea. Milky cup of tea. A very big cup of tea. That should keep me going for a while. By the time I get to it, it'll be lukewarm. I'll still drink it, mind you, but it'll be lukewarm. I've had so many images. Last night I had a lot of, just this morning, or early this morning before I woke up, woke up about just before 5, I think. And just loaded with images. Interesting, strange images. A lot to do with Superman, interestingly enough. I'll tell you about that in a second. But a couple of days ago, about 3 days ago, I think, 2 or 3 days ago, I can't remember. I had all these images. I had sports dreams. I was dreaming sports. I had like 4 dreams in a row about sports. And I'll try to talk about them briefly. But I think the Lord is dealing with sports right now. And why would he deal with sports? Well, because it's been corrupted and very, very badly corrupted. We've got men playing women's sports, and everyone's saying that's okay. And then, unfortunately, now women are now being ousted from their own sports and unable to really compete because we've got men disguised as women or pretending to be women, and everyone can see that they're not, and women can't compete. So it's just wrong, and not to mention all the gambling and the corruption and the foul play and the unsportsmanship. It's all part of the whole thing. It's been corrupted, terribly corrupted, and sports is a gift from God. Yeah, why God doesn't care about sports? Yes, he does. God cares about sports because it was a gift from Him, for mankind, for curricular activities, recreation, relaxation, from golf to hockey to soccer to all the things that men do, darts, things that mankind does. It's a gift. It's a gift to be able to expend extra energy, to focus your energy on improving yourself with physical activity. That's a gift from God. It's a gift from God. Now that goes along with my dream, interestingly enough. I had these dreams about 3 days ago, 2, 3 days ago. I told one of my sisters about it, and she told me to, my sister who represents the Church of Thyatira, Kay, hi Kay, um, about it, and she was trying to help me through the interpretation of it, and she helped a lot. But I was really wondering why the Lord gave me all these sports dreams. It didn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. So why would the Lord give me these sports dreams? Well, guess what? It's because it's a gift from God and it's been corrupted and it needs to be straightened out. We need to straighten out our sports. And isn't it interesting that during this time, God has stopped a lot of things. He has stopped a lot of our activities, including sports, because it's something he's dealing with. He didn't say, okay, let the sports continue because it doesn't really matter to me one way or the other what's going on in the sports world. It does matter to him. Sports matter. It matters to us. It matters to him. It matters they're sports. He loves sports. He created sports. He knows about sports, people, and we've left it thinking that God doesn't care about sports. Well, we all watch sports. Why? Because it's enjoyable, it's relaxing, it's fun. It's fun to be in a crowd and cheering your side. It's fun to be participating in sports and to be allowed to participate even as a spectator in sports. It's probably more fun to participate as a spectator. I have to tell you, I'm not a big sports person. I used to play sports in high school. I used to play uh, well, I was on the lunch hour, dodgeball. I used to be a little bit involved in gymnastics. I used to do um, what else did I used to do? Volleyball. I used to play volleyball. Running. I was never interested in running, to tell you the truth. But I did a little bit of track and field in grade school, and actually I was quite good if I was interested in pursuing it, but I wasn't. So, and my brothers have brothers who are very, love sports. I like to watch football. I like to watch football. Baseball, if I'm there in person. I like to watch baseball if I'm in person. If it's on TV, not so much. I find it boring. But if I'm there, it's fun. Soccer, not so much. But that's just me. Tennis, I used to when I was watch tennis when I was a teenager, but lost that interest. Anyway, I'm just rambling right now. Just rambling. Just saying. Golf, no, it's too slow for me. Sorry, just too slow for me. But anyway, I'm just rambling. So anyway, golf, sports is a gift from God for mankind. Okay, and if it's been corrupted, God's going to deal with it, and that's basically what these series of dreams were. And let me just tell you what. So just a couple of verses that I found to do with races, for instance. Psalms 19:9, 19:5. Let me see if I can find it here. It is talking about, well, Psalms 19:5 is it's a psalm of the law of the Lord is perfect. The law of the Lord is perfect. Oh, isn't this interesting? So it's talking about how God has shown his handiwork in all things. And even in sports, God is showing his handiwork. Isn't that interesting? But this is talking about the sun in this case, but it's still talking about him running a race. Um, Psalms 19:4. Their line has gone out through all the world, earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them hath he set a tabernacle for the sun, which is a bridegroom come out of his chamber, and rejoices as a strong man to run a race. He goes forth. His going forth is from the ends of the heaven, and his circuit unto the ends of it, and there is nothing hid from the heat thereof. The law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. The testimony of the Lord is sure, making wise the simple. The statutes of the Lord are right, rejoicing the heart. The commandment of the Lord is pure, enlightening the eyes. So this is about how God's law is perfect. And as the sun is like a strong man leaving his house to run a race. The law, the law of the son is under a series of laws. He has to do what he has to do because God has set a law for it. As a strong man who runs a race, there are laws that govern sports. God has laws that govern sports. What? Yes. Isn't that amazing? And of course, we know who the strong man is. He is the Son, S-O-N. He represents, S-U-N represents the S-O-N, who is the Son. Okay, so Jesus is our light, and the Son represents that light who is the Son. Okay, and he is our bridegroom. Okay, and so therefore, that's very interesting. And then of course Ecclesiastes 9:11. 9:11? What? 9:11. Again, it's talking about the sun and it's running a race. Ecclesiastes, this is wisdom's better than folly. Okay, so we know that there's a lot of folly in sports. People who are um, doing ridiculous things, taking knees, and or who are throwing a game, who are paid to throw games. Okay, there's all kinds of folly that's going on in sports. Ecclesiastes 9:11. I returned and saw the sun, that the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, neither yet bread to the wise, nor yet riches to the men of understanding, nor yet favor to men of skill, but time and chance happeth to them all. For man also knoweth not his time, as the fishes that are taken in evil nets, and in an evil net, and as the birds are caught in the snare, so are the sons of men snared in the evil time, when it falleth suddenly upon them. And it's interesting. What fell on 9/11? Oh yeah, the Twin Towers. Isn't that interesting? Um, yeah, but here it's talking about this. I'm gonna try and stay on topic here. Um, it's talking about how the sun is. And I returned and I saw that under the sun that the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, neither yet bread to the wise, nor the riches to the men of understanding, nor yet favor to men of skill, but time and chance happens to them all. Okay, so that we are all under the same, basically, judgment when it comes to meeting our Maker. I suppose that's what it means. 1 Corinthians 9:24. This chapter is about Paul surrendering his rights. Uh, it's talking about law. It's talking a lot about law in this law and grace. Uh, but 1 Corinthians 9:24. Know ye not that they that run a race run all, but one receiveth the prize? So run that you may obtain. And every man that striveth for the mastery is temperate in all things. Now they do it to obtain a corruptible crown, but we an incorruptible. I therefore so run, not as uncertainly, so fight I, not as one that beateth the air. So he's talking about boxing there, shadow boxing. He's talking about racing, and he's talking about boxing. But I keep under my body, but I keep under my body and bring it into subjection, lest that by any means, when I have preached to others, I myself should be cast away. So he's talking about self-control, about discipline. He's talking about sports. So sports is definitely a legitimate topic, and it's something that God is interested in. It's a gift that was given to God to us by God. And there's one more verse that talks about sports. Hebrews 12:1. Hebrews 12:1. Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which doth so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. So it's about playing fair. It's about doing the best that we can with what we're given, which is interesting because it goes along with my dream. Um, so we lay aside every sin. Um, we are being witnessed on earth. When what we do on earth, witnesses are watching what we're doing, whether we're playing fair, whether we're playing by the rules, whether we're doing what's right in God's eyes or wrong. We are all being witnessed. Everything is being witnessed. We think that we're doing these things in secret. We think that we're fouling up a game in secret. We're playing fairly with each other. Um, 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 just breaking the rules when it comes to fair play, and we think that nobody's going to see what we're going to do. Well, we're doing it in secret. It's not, because it says here, wherefore, seeing we're also compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and sin which doth so easily beset us. So he said, put aside your sin because it's seen. Everything you do is seen. And let us run with patience the race that is set before us. Okay, so isn't that amazing? Now, interestingly enough, let me tell you the dreams I had. There was a series. I'm going to try not to give you too many details because it was quite detailed. All these different dreams. The first dream I had, I was in um what looked like it's a sports arena. And I think I was watching a soccer game. I couldn't really tell. I wasn't really paying attention to the soccer game or the game that was on the field. There was a field, and I was up and high in the bleachers, watching this game. And their sports colors were orange and red, and that's what I could say. Just see a sea of orange and red. And these two teams had similar colors, and so they were all wearing their sports, you know, rah kind of colors to support their teams. And anyway, off to one side in the lower area, I could see that these Australian fans were coming into the stadium, and they were disrupting the game. not because that they were trying to get into the game. That was not the point. They were rooting for their side, but they were disrupting what was going on in the field. So instead of coming in to watch the team, I knew they were Australian. I knew they were Australian. There was only a few of them, but I knew that they were distracting the game, and they were causing the crowd to be upset, and they were distracting the players on the field because I knew they were Australian. Oh, get me back to what I was saying. I knew they were Australian because their colors. They were wearing green and gold, green and yellow. And I knew that was Australia's team colors. And I was watching them because I was turning because they were distracting. They were distracting me from what was going on in the field. And what's disturbing to me about them was that they weren't there to watch the game. If they had just come in as, wearing their Australian colors to sit down and watch the game, that would have been something, that would have been okay. That's what anybody can come watch a game if that's what you want to do. But they came in deliberately to disrupt the game that was going on in the field. And so that wasn't acceptable to me. So I went down to where they were on the lower bleachers. And interestingly enough, my mother was one of the side judges. That was, one of these people that sit on the side and record things. Isn't that interesting? She was sitting there recording what was going on in the field. She was very focused on the field. And beside her was another judge, a female judge, but she was also there, recording things on the field. And anyway, these Australians were there, and I knew there was one guy with long blonde, kind of surfer dude hair. And again, I knew they were Australian, so I went up to them and I said, "Good day, mate." I told my sister that. We both laughed. "Good day, mate," because I knew they were Australian. And the surfer dude guy turned and looked at me like he was like, and then he looked at me and he knew I was there to say basically telling them to shut up or get out. And he kind of looked at me like, oh, let's go. And so he told his dudes to get out, and they left. And after they left, I turned to the other judge, not my mother, but the other judge, and I sat down with the judge, and I said, let's have a conversation. And this judge looked a little concerned. She looked like, well, we're not supposed to make friends with people who are, uh, not part of this situation. We're not supposed to make. And she was telling me, because you could influence us to alter the game, or alter our records. And I said, well, I said that I knew that's not my intention to talk to her, but I was talking to her about fair play. I felt like my intention to talk to her was to find out how was this being recorded? Are you doing it accurately? That kind of thing, to find out what was going on with this, the sports situation. And but I said to her, I said something funny. I said, well, don't consider me a friend. Consider me an acquaintance. That way we can still talk. So she goes, oh, okay. So we had a conversation, and that was the end of that part of the dream. I don't remember exactly what, I mean, it wasn't like I needed even to hear what it was that we needed to talk about, because that was just, I was, like the Bible says, we are surrounded by a cloud of witnesses. So what we think we're doing in secret to throw a game, um, is being witnessed. Okay. So isn't that interesting? Sports dreams. Mm. So that was my first dream. The second dream I had was immediately one after another. I had one dream after another. Another dream was I was in what looked like a community center, and this group of kids, I guess they were young teenagers, like preteens or young teens, are playing a game on like a dodgeball game on a set of trampolines that were all tied together. I'd seen that before, actually. It looks very strenuous and exhausting. But anyway, they were having fun. They were just having a great time, and they were playing this dodgeball game on trampolines, and it looked fun. Um, I was exhausted just watching it in the dream. So anyway, so I was watching this game, and they were bouncing around, and something concerned me about what was going on in the game, and I just wanted to make sure that something was taken care of. Again, I went to talk to somebody about what was happening that concerned me, and I don't remember what it was I said to this person, but I had left the room left the arena or where these kids were playing this game to talk to somebody about something that was going on in the game. Okay. Then when I came back, I was no longer in the trampoline room. The game had changed into a different kind of sports. This time we was kind of like a a combination of roller derby. Yeah, I don't know if it was people you might remember back in the 70s. It became really really popular. This roller derby sports where you roll around in a rink around in a circle, and it's kind of like a dodgeball. It's kind of like dodgeball, but only this time the spectators, instead of being up in the stands, they were in the center. And the players, two players, were playing kind of a dodgeball kind of game within a netted area around the spectators. And there was a very strange phenomena in the game where the um, players would throw the ball at one another, but if it got caught in this magnetic field that was off to the side of um, the outside of the arena that they were playing, the circular arena, it got caught in this magnetic thing and the ball would stick to it. And so they'd have to go and get the ball and then try to get each other while they were running around this circle. It was very strange. It was a very odd game. I've never seen anything like it. Anyway, while we were watching it, their clothes changed from what modern sports clothes to flowing dresses. And they went from flowing old-fashioned pure dresses, like they were old-fashioned white tennis garb, I guess, of, someone you'd see back in 1910 or something, white cotton dresses, and that's what they kind of turned into as they were playing this game. Maybe it was a sign that the purity would come back into sports. Okay, the intended purity, and there were two girls, by the way, not men, two girls that were playing this game against each other. It was a draw. Nobody won. It couldn't. It was just that was where the game ended. It ended in a draw. Okay, so that was the end of that dream. Then the dream changed again, and as the crowd was leaving this inner arena, where the spectators were, we were all starting to leave, and off to the side there was another room where there's children were playing. Okay, and one of the care workers or the I guess superintendents or sports overseers had taken this little boy and had dragged him out of the room where the other kids were playing. And as she explained to me as she was bringing him out, saying, he just won't behave. He's not behaving well. He will not get along. And so decided to sit down with this little boy and have a conversation to find out why he wasn't behaving well and behaving with the other children. Interestingly enough, this little boy, he was like 6 years old, 6 or 7 years old. It was quite interesting in the dream because um, he looked like the little boy from the Nanny Diaries. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie The Nanny Diaries. It had Scarlett Johansson in it. Actually, it's kind of a cute film, interesting film in some ways. And anyway, he looked like that little boy Grayer, who played Grayer, which is an interesting name, Grayer. He's a little boy who's in between worlds, whether he's going to be a human being or one of these elite, rich, spoiled people, or an actual human being. Okay, so he's kind of between deciding, and his parents, who have not been behaving them well themselves, are very spoiled human beings, are elite. And this woman, Annie, comes into his life, Grayer's life, and she more or less, she loves Grayer. She learns to love this little boy, but she's got it right when it says, she tells off the parents in the end and says, look, you've got this precious gift. You got this little boy who is a gift from God, basically. And if you don't step into the role of being true parents and good parents to this little boy, you're going to lose him. Okay? You have an opportunity to turn him into a human being by being interested in his life. Okay? That's basically the gist of the Nanny Diaries. It's this woman who's a human being who is trying to figure out her own life, first of all. But then she comes into this little boy named Grayer's life, and she's basically learning more about the parents than she is about this little boy. She's learning that they're spoiled and they're quite lost people, quite lost, both of them. the mother and father, both lost in a very strange world. And she tells them, you have an opportunity to make good with this gift that God has given you if you step up to the plate. Um, and anyway, this little boy looked like him, okay, but his name in the dream was Matthew or Mateo, was Mateo. And I didn't actually call him Mateo, but I knew that's who I was talking to, Mateo, which means God's gift. I looked up the name Matthew, which is Mateo is an Italian version of Matthew. Matthew means God's gift. So in sports, it's God's gift. Children are our gifts, and children we are teaching through sports to play well with each other. Isn't that interesting? To get along with one another, to learn how to play fair. Now you've got an opportunity when they're young to teach children these rules, the rules of God's laws, to play fair with one another. Okay, that there's a cloud of witnesses. When you people are playing sports, there's a cloud of witnesses. Think about that. That just popped in my head. When you're in an arena and you're watching a football game, you're not just playing alone and you're not just playing by yourself or for yourself. You're playing for a cloud of witnesses. Whoa! Another interpretation explained here. Isn't that amazing? God is so good. He gives me so many things. So we are not just playing for ourselves when we're playing sports. We're playing for God. We're playing for a cloud of witnesses who are watching the game. They're watching a game. Wait. Let's just see. Wherefore, seeing we're also encompassed. Let me just see Hebrews. Let me just read the whole thing. Wherefore, seeing we are also compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us set aside every weight and sin which doth so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who, for the joy that was set before him, endured the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of God. So there it is. We are we are the cloud of witnesses in a sports game. Isn't that interesting? Just occurred to me. Thank you, Lord. God just gave me another interpretation right there. So anyway, this little boy, I knew his name was Mateo, which means God's gift, and he wasn't playing fair. And interestingly enough, I said to this little boy, I said, "Oh, I know who you are. You're Karen's. You're Karen's little boy. You're Karen's son." Now, Karen, interestingly enough, I lived for a year. I was a roommate with a woman her name was Karen or Karen. She was Norwegian, and her little boy was named Mateo. That was her son's name. Okay, she was divorced, and so she and I were rooming together for a year. And her little boy's name was Mateo. That's why I knew his name was Mateo, because Karen's son was Mateo, and even though he looked like Grayer. And so anyway, I said, you're Karen's son. And Karen, when I looked up the name Karen, Karen means pure. It was like that same dream where the women were running around and suddenly their clothes changed to these white tennis, old-fashioned 1910s tennis outfits, these flowing cotton gowns. They went to from what looked like modern sportswear to these old-fashioned, old-school, pure outfits, white outfits, meaning that God was going to purify the sports. Um, Also, like I said, this little boy, he was wearing um, Mateo was wearing a sports jersey. Okay, he looked like he was wearing hockey gear, but without the skates. Okay, and not quite so cumbersome, but he was looking like he was wearing a sports hockey jersey, and he was anyway. He looked like he was ready to play some sports, but he didn't have skates on. So he was being I'm having trouble with my words today. He was expelled from this room where the other kids were playing, and so I decided I was going to sit down with this little boy and find out why he was misbehaving. So I sat down with him, and we started this conversation in this dream, and I was trying to find out why he was misbehaving, and he had given me an explanation, and I can't remember what it was. But then I started to talk to him. I said, well, you know what? I'm going to pray for you that you're going to, I know, in fact, I know that you're going to be better for this. and that you're going to learn to get along with everybody. I have the best, I feel it in my heart that you're going to be the best you can be, and you're going to learn how to play well with the other children. And he looked at me kind of cynically, like, what makes you think you're going to say that to me? I said, because I believe it. It's because I wish it for you, that you are going to learn to to behave well with the other children, and you're going to get along. I just know that. I'm going to believe that for you. That's basically what I said to this little boy. And then as we were leaving, I took him by the hand and we left this arena and we went outside. And outside there was a group of people standing around. I don't know why they were standing there, but they were the spectators that had watched the game before, and they were standing around. And one of the spectators that was in the center arena with me while we were watching this strange dodgeball game between these two girls was a rather angular looking black woman. She looked like she must have been in her early 20s or something. And I was standing there with this little boy named Mateo, and she turned around and she started to talk out loud to us as though she was talking to me, but not really. She was more or less talking to herself. And she was saying, you know what? I haven't got much. I wasn't given much. But what I have, I'm going to use to the best of my ability. I'm not going to let anybody tell me what I can't do with what I've got. I've been given this, what I've been given, and I'm going to make the best of it. And I turned to Mateo and I said, you see this woman? I said, this woman understands that sometimes we're not all given, the most in life, but she's going to make the best with what she's got. And that is what you need to learn from this woman. This woman has got it right. And as she was walking by, I said to Mateo, I said, look at her heart. Look at her heart. Her heart was suddenly outside of her shirt. It was sitting on top of her chest. You could see it. You could see her heart. It was the shape of a heart. And I said, look at her heart. She's got a good heart. And that was the end of the dream. I woke up and I sat there thinking, what was that about? Why in the world did I have all these sports dreams? That was really weird. And the next day I talked to my sister about it and I said, well, that's really weird. I don't understand why God would give me all these dreams, one after the other, after the other about sports. What's that about? What? Well, you know what? I started thinking about it after we had our conversation. I started thinking, sports are just as important to the Lord as anything else in life. It's a gift from God, and we need to teach our children from an early age to get along and how to, it's what we do as parents, or at least we should, to teach our children to get along with other people and to play fair, okay? So that when they get older, they're not going to leave those understandings. This is what the Bible says, train up your child in the way they should go, and they won't leave it. Let me see if I can find that verse. Hold on just a second. Here it is right here. Proverbs 22:6. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. So that is basically what this dream was at least part of the dream was about, is about training up our children from an early age to play fair with each other. And they won't stop doing that when they get older. It's like anything. We need to train up our children at an early age. It means old school, if you will. Go back to training our kids and learning to teach our children the right from the wrong. I was thinking about that for my last video, old school. And it's talking about this strong ruler, the ruling with a rod of iron. I was thinking about how um, Pete Dixon. I know why I kept saying Richard Dixon because it sounds like Richard Nixon. I started laughing when I realized that. Anyway, Pete Dixon, which means a stone or rock. Dixon means a strong ruler, son of Richard, or which is son of Richard, who is a brave ruler or a strong ruler. And then how this ruler is, it talks about how we shall rule, he shall rule with a rod of iron. Anyway, I was thinking about how when we go to school, that was the first time I ever saw a ruler was when I went to school. A ruler is a straight edge in which you could draw a straight line. Okay? Interestingly enough, old school, a ruler was 12 inches. Now, in it still is 12 inches, but in Canada they changed the system from 12 inches, which I think was actually done deliberately in order to remove 12 off of our ruler or foot being 12 inches, because 12 is the number of government, good government, 12. But anyway, So I guess they just don't want to remind kids or to teach people that that's 12 is the straight ruler. But anyway, that I was thinking how funny in old school when Pete Dixon, whose name means the stone and strong ruler, in school, a ruler is the first place you actually probably ever seen a ruler. I never saw a ruler until I went to school, and what I learned how to write a straight line or to draw a straight line was with a ruler. And it's a strong edge. It's a straight edge, and that's where you learn right and wrong. Um, I just thought that was kind of interesting, kind of thing I never thought about before. Kind of put that together a little bit for me too. Um, anyway, I think that's all I'm going to say with this video because there's still this morning I just had a whole series of dreams, one after another after another. Again, all these images, and a lot had to do with Superman. Interestingly enough. But I think I'm just going to leave this video here as this is. But I think, let me just put it out there. God is dealing with our sports. And it's very interesting, and it's not a coincidence that sports were also shut down at this time. God is reworking things. He is cleaning up, and sometimes things have to come to an end. If something is corrupted, God will have to put an end to it and then restart it up because sports are his gift to us, as I said before, and so therefore he's concerned about it too. Sports are just, those people say, I'm a Christian, I don't watch sports. Well, that's your choice, but doesn't mean that it's Christian. Non-Christian, it's more Christian to not watch sports. There's nothing in the scriptures that say it's more Christian to not watch sports. That's just silliness. Sports are a gift from God. They're part of our recreation. It's part of who we are, just like singing is part of who we are. Walking is part of who we are. Talking is part of who we are. Sports are part of who we are too. There's a gift that God has given to us, and so to naysay them or to completely ignore them as though they're not essential or non-Christian is ridiculous. It's silly and actually unbiblical. Okay. So anyway, if you choose not to watch sports, that's your choice. But God is most definitely concerned with sports. So God bless, and I will leave this video here as it is. And I probably will make the next video today. And this one is about the series of dreams that I had uh, just this morning. Anyway, I'll talk to you later. God bless.